pack, to Hollywood, to the mayor's office, and now, behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thanks Almighty! We are free at last!
You're listening to the Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Well, I'm not a former quarterback. I'm not an actor. I guess I can play one on the radio. I pretend, we're all experts on social media and we're all experts on the radio. Alan Autry is not here today. I'm guest hosting his show. He will be back tomorrow. But I do have someone in studio who is so important, especially as the primary election occurs next Tuesday. This is the most important race on the ballot. And I'm not just saying that because he's sitting right across from me. This really is the most important race on the ballot. John Zanoni, he's running for Fresno County Sheriff. Mr. Zanoni? I know you say I call you John, but I just sound disrespectful. You know, you're a law enforcement officer. Mr. Zanoni, it's a pleasure to see you. And man, you're ready. I can feel it. You're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. And go ahead and call me John. Please.
Oh man, all right.
Let's have a good conversation here.
John, you are. This is the most important race for Fresno County. I believe this is going to be kind of a one and done for a while. People normally reelect politicians, every certain amount of years. But our sheriff, we normally stick with them once we choose them. How's the campaign going? How you feeling gearing up for Tuesday?
Well, we do stick with them once we choose them. From Sheriff McGarrion, 2 terms. Sheriff Pierce was 2, and then Sheriff Mims now has gone 4 terms. So we've stuck with them for at least a couple terms. And how's the campaign going? The campaign is going well. I'm cautiously optimistic heading into the final weekend here with Tuesday, June 7th, being the D-Day, the final day to vote. Been getting a lot of good feedback, out in the community. Been out walking door to door, talking to folks, getting my message out there. That's important. I've been working on some fundraising and just trying to hit, all of our goals here as we move to the weekend to get the mailers out. Got some more TV rolling and a few radio spots here and there to talk to.
Yeah, and you heard and I think I was telling you, I was like, man, it's a great radio spot. It's a great radio spot because you have some very key important endorsements. I mean, endorsements matter, especially when we look at law enforcement.
They do. When you look at the endorsements of Sheriff Margaret Mims, District Attorney Lisa Smith-Camp, retired Sheriff Steve McGarrion, and then all of law enforcement organizations that I have, and then the sheriffs in the surrounding counties. But I also have some good endorsements too with some local folks, from Mayor Rolando Castro out in Mendota to Gary Yep, the mayor of Kerman, to Laura North, the mayor of Kingsburg, and then the chief of police in Orange Cove, Marty Rivera. So I've got some endorsements spread out throughout the county, from the west to the east, which is important because
you're being humble. You got the endorsements. That's amazing because the commercial talks about Sheriff Mims, but you got the officers, you got the people that are really on the ground, and it matters because this is one of those seats, and I want to make sure the listeners understand. Your sheriff is something where you need to have the requisite amount of experience. You and I were just talking before how it's different. It's different than any other type of law enforcement. And I really want to see you become our next sheriff. I don't like to jinx things, so I was like, man, I was already gearing up to call you our next sheriff. But I have a good feeling about it. I think the people that I've talked to understand the importance of the seat, and I just want to make sure that the voters understand as well.
Well, I think that when you're talking about sheriff, you're not talking about isolated divisions within a law enforcement agency. You're talking about the sheriff of Fresno County, responsible for all law enforcement services, from patrol to detectives to the dispatchers when you call in, to all the training that everybody receives in the entire department, the jail. You've got the courts. Yeah. And then on top of that, a lot of folks forget that we are also the coroner and public administrator.
Ah, that's true.
So every death in Fresno County is recorded through our coroner's office. Anytime there's a homicide, whether it occurs in the city of Fresno, the city of Clovis, or the county, our coroner's office is part of that investigation. Our deputy coroners respond. And then when you talk about the public administrator, you talk about people who have estates or things of value. And after someone passes away, there's no will. And then the public administrator gets involved to determine how that's going to be, spread out, or who that's going to go to, or how it's going to be dispersed. So it's a lot of different moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. I think. And last time you were in here, you had mentioned some of those moving parts, and it's so vast. The department is so huge. All right, we got to take a quick commercial break, but his name is John Zanoni, Fresno County Sheriff, John Zanoni. On Tuesday, you got to make sure you submit your ballot. And you mark his name, and you got to vote. Don't be one of these individuals that say, "Hey, listen, my vote doesn't count. It doesn't." I'm so mad. It counts. Fresno County. John Zanoni. We'll be right back with John Zanoni in studio here on the Best Talk in Town. Guillermo Moreno filling in for Alan Autry.
It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was a right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed. This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized in this. Get right on it, Chief.
Skinner, but Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Well, I'm not Alan Autry, our great former mayor, great Green Bay Packer quarterback. Although he'll tell you, no, I wasn't great. You know, I really wish that he would have been here. He's going to be here tomorrow. John Zanoni is sitting in studio here. He's got a very important race. I'm calling it the most important race of next Tuesday, running for Fresno County Sheriff. I don't know if you heard the story of this. You'll get a kick out of this. So when Alan was mayor, they had polled the voters to see, hey, what would you like about him? And they liked his law enforcement background. And he never was in law enforcement. He just played a cop on the heat of the night. So it was kind of funny. But we could have Alan, I know you're watching. We'll have to get John Zanoni back in when he wins, and I'm confident. I know the candidates are always like, oh, Guillermo, don't say that. Don't jinx it. But John Zanoni is who you need to vote for next Tuesday. Fresno County Sheriff, Mr. Zanoni. John, you said I can call you John.
Yes, please.
John, what are your goals? What are your goals for Fresno County if you become sheriff?
Well, my first goal is to reduce crime and improve public safety. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to add deputy sheriff positions. Mm-hmm. That's a must. We're behind the curve right now. We're behind that barometer of 2 per 1,000. We're actually a little below 1 per 1,000.
Wow. So is it as bad as I know the city of Fresno also needs police officers. Is that bad or?
No, it's not that bad as far as population.
Yeah.
But remember, we're kind of in a different situation. Not only are we seeing a population increase, but we have to patrol 6,000 square miles.
Gosh.
So city of Fresno is about 116 square miles. We're 6,000 square miles. You have to deliver service. You have to provide safety for our residents. And also, you have to make sure that our deputy sheriffs are working in a safe environment, because sometimes they'll go to calls and their backup is 20, 30 minutes away.
Man.
So if you're going to a call that's a bad situation, our deal is we train them. You respond. You protect people first. That's why, we give you these tools and these equipment. So you might have to wait a little bit for your backup. So we want to try to improve that. Like I said, the safety of the residents, but also the safety of our deputies, and make sure they have adequate backup and they can do their job to the best of their abilities. So that's one priority. Another priority is we've got to look at school safety. And at the sheriff's office. Amen. Exactly. I have a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So school safety and protecting our kids is really important to me. But you have to look at what we need to do. Like right now out in Tranquility and San Joaquin, we're working with Golden Plains School District. We've gotten some funding from them and from some other sources. And so we're going to be adding a school resource deputy out there for the high school and the grammar school out there in that area.
From Fresno County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, Fresno County Sheriff's Office. So we're going to be looking, we're already looking towards other school districts in the county.
Nice.
Where schools are in the county, not in incorporated cities per se, that have their own police departments, because a lot of them have school resource officers or they have that capability. But we're going to get those, deputies out there to help make these schools feel safe. And the other thing that we do too is the sheriff's office, we have a great program called Seconds to Survive. And we've provided it to the Fresno County Office of Education. We provide it to private businesses. We provide it to schools. We provide it to other county departments and even our local churches. And that's a program that we teach people what to do in the event of an active shooter. And prior to COVID, it was extremely popular. We teach you how to prepare mentally, how to think defensively, fight or flight, when you can run, you run, when you can shelter in place, you shelter in place. And then when you need to, what tools you might have available to you in the workplace to fight back when that threat is imminent and you can't avoid it. So very popular. I'm getting requests here just over the last couple of days for businesses from Reedley to businesses out on the west side to schools that want to have this training provided to their staff to make them safer, and to help protect them.
That's fantastic. What's it called?
It's called Seconds to Survive.
Seconds to Survive. That's a great goal. That's a great goal.
And if you are a business owner out there or in the community and you'd like it, please contact us. It's free of charge. And we have numerous staff who are trained in it, and we can provide it to you. like I said, free of charge. It's a great program, and based on kind of how things are going these days, it's a good tool to have in your toolbox when you're running a company or business.
Absolutely.
We've seen grocery stores, hospitals, and schools have all been, attacked by these active shooters. So
yeah, I remember just getting word of it. It's just so it's so difficult, and the children are being laid to rest this week. It's just so difficult to watch. It's just so difficult to hear. What's the feeling like at Fresno County? Like the sheriffs, like there are our officers, saying, hey, John, we gotta, let's do something about it here to be preventative. It sounds like they are.
Oh, absolutely. And I won't get into all the details of what happened in Texas, but our deputies are trained that if you show up at a school campus and there's an active shooter situation going on, that you're not going to be waiting for your backup. You are going in and you are going to isolate that active shooter. You're going to find them, and you're going to take the attention off the kids and bring the attention to you, because we're the ones with the tools. We have the guns, we have the ballistic vests, we have those things, because what we want to make sure is in a lot of these situations, once the suspect or the active shooter is engaged, then the kids and other people are actually safe, because now they have to focus on the law enforcement threat to them.
Yeah.
So that
makes sense.
That's what's important. And some other things, as sheriff, we're going to improve our technology. Currently we have a system called Mark 43, which is our report writing system, and it's a crime analyst system that we use. And actually almost every agency in Fresno County uses it. And you have Madera County Sheriffs and Madera Police Department. They all use Mark 43. So it's a system we can all share. Unfortunately, there's 2 agencies in Fresno County who don't. One of them is the Fresno Police Department. And I believe Clovis PD is actually looking at going to it, but that's still in process from what I know. But if we had everybody on the same system, when individuals are looking for reports or information on people, it'd be really easy to access.
Oh, wow. So let's just say, since it's Mark 43, let's say Mark is up in Prather, and he's stealing a catalytic converter, and you type in Mark from Prather stealing catalytic converter. So will let's just say he's a notorious Fresno thief, would his stuff come up on your end?
Absolutely. What we probably look more for is the officer who's out working the city of Mendota and stops an individual who's a prolific thief out in Fresno County. And now when they're talking to them, they run the name, they can see all the hits, all the times they've been contacted, calls for service, the times they've been field interviewed, reports written. They have access to that information. So that makes us a much more effective at crime fighting. And it also makes us more effective at keeping the community safe.
Amen to that. John Zanoni, next Tuesday. I know you're busy. I really appreciate you making time for us. But before you go, crime is just insane. Crime is everyone's dealing with it all across the nation. There's a lot of theft. What's the number one crime right now that you guys are dealing with in Fresno County?
In Fresno County right now is probably 10851s or grand theft auto, vehicle theft. That's what we see a lot of. It's out there. Folks aren't working. People are just out stealing cars. And the problem is we need to have more teeth in the law. And that's one thing I'm going to fight for, is to make sure that we make the laws tougher and that we hold people accountable. Because right now it's just too easy to steal cars, and it's not going to hold you in jail. It's just not that high of a priority offense. And so we need to focus on that. But the other thing we need to focus on too is, and we've worked with the Fresno Police Department recently on different operations, whether it's the big gang operations with the wires, or we're doing this recent, Operation Safe Neighborhoods. We all need to work together. And that's what I want to continue to do as sheriff, and even enhance it even more, because the crime that occurs in the city can also occur in the county. And it's sometimes it's the same criminals, and sometimes you're having a shooting occurs here just by chance, but the actual disturbance started in the city. So we need to work together to make sure that we make our community safer, because every day it seems like you read the news, you read the media, there's a homicide, there's a shooting. Last night, right down the street from Fashion Fair, you had a shooting at Gettysburg and Fresno Street. I mean, we just continually to be plagued by this.
Yeah, you're right.
And no one agency alone is going to solve it. We have to work together, combine our resources, and make sure we prosecute those people to the fullest extent of the law, and getting guns off the street. That's one of our big goals, because we take the guns out of the hands of criminals, we won't have crime.
Amen to that. John Zanoni is his name. Continuity is what we need in our sheriff's department. John, always a pleasure to talk to you, and good luck going into Tuesday. John Zanoni, everyone in Fresno County, that is our pick for sheriff, and I hope it is your pick as well. John, I'm going to give you the last word.
Guillermo, thank you very much for having me on the show. And to all you out there, get out, vote. June 7th, John Zanoni for sheriff, and we're going to win this thing.
Amen. And when you do, you're going to come back because there's a lot of work to be done. I know you're going to hit the ground running as you have done these last 26 years.
26 years.
26. I was right. 26 years. John Zanoni next Tuesday. John Zanoni, Fresno County Sheriff.
It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was a right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized in this.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Guillermo Moreno filling in for Alan Autry. Alan Autry will be back mañana. That's tomorrow for our bilingual audience. Really appreciate John Zanoni, candidate for Fresno County Sheriff. He's got Sheriff Margaret Mims' endorsement. And man, we need him in there, and we need continuity in our sheriff's department. We've been blessed with a great sheriff's department, well managed, well ran. We need John Zanoni. Let's get into some of the other news items. I mean, there's the Queen celebrating Jubilee. Did she just do a Jubilee? Like what? I don't listen. Thank God we're not British. Thank you, everyone that fought a long time ago to make this country what it is. So I'm glad we're not British. We don't have to do any kind of royalty to the queen and the crown. Still America, hopefully for, I don't know how much longer before the commies take it over. But I want to get into, we're not going to get into that. I want to get into this baby formula shortage and Joe Biden essentially saying, well, you know, they might have known it, but I didn't know it. They knew it before I did, I guess. Does Joe Biden realize that he's president of the United States, or does he not know it? Is that why he's making all these bad decisions? Maybe he doesn't understand that he's actually president, and that's why, essentially, he's just doing everything. How can you get so many things wrong? That's what I wanted. Like, how could you have to try really hard, I think, to get virtually everything wrong. I think when I was on yesterday with Alan and Larry Powell, I think we tried to find one good thing that Joe Biden has done, and we're having difficulty. And listen, I've said it many times, and I don't even listen to my own advice, but I said it's not time to gloat. It's not time to gloat because the reality is we saw this coming. Conservatives saw this coming. Conservatives knew this was going to happen with Joe Biden. It was going to be a horrible presidency. He was not mentally capable to address the problems that plague this nation. And I've said this many times. You don't want me, Guillermo Moreno, to perform brain surgery on you. I'm not a neurosurgeon. I can't do it. I could put on the scrubs. I can wash my hands, put the gloves on, hold the tools in my hand, look over your body, over your brain, but you don't want me doing brain surgery. I'm not capable of doing that. At a certain point in time, I would have hoped, it never happened, obviously, because Joe Biden is our president. I really would have hoped that America would have understood it. And I still think 2020 was a stolen election. And as we know, stolen elections have consequences. But I want to play for you the audio that has been making the rounds here. And this is Joe Biden pretty much saying, hey, I didn't know it. I didn't know about the baby shortage until recently, until April. Listen to Joe Biden. All right, I apologize. All right. I got a little too click happy. Here we go.
The question you always on every single thing, why didn't you act sooner? Well, I don't think anyone anticipated the impact of the shutdown of one facility in the Abbott facility. Once we learned of the extent of it and how broad it was, we kicked everything into gear. And I think we're on the way to be able to completely solve the problem.
Did the CEOs just tell you that they understood it would have a very big impact?
They did, but I didn't.
So what's very telling isn't the fact that he's trying to cover his own. He's CYAing. The president of the United States is CYAing himself. But what's really insightful is the beginning of that audio bit. Let me play it again.
Why didn't you act sooner? Well, I don't think anyone anticipated the question you always on every single thing. Why didn't you act sooner?
The question is on every single thing. Well, why didn't you act sooner? It's extremely telling because this isn't the first crisis that Joe Biden has had. It's definitely not going to be the last, unfortunately. But a lot of Americans, especially Democrats, and I think a lot of his own party, a lot of his people surrounding him are probably like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why? Afghanistan, why are you taking so long to extract Americans? What are you doing? Right? You have Afghanistan. You have the baby shortage. The baby, not a baby shortage. I apologize. I was going to make a bad Planned Parenthood, but I'm not. You have Afghanistan. You have Ukraine. He's late to the party there. Why? Why are you waiting? Why did you wait so long? Why? Baby formula. Why? And that's just the top three. The top three. But more facts are coming out. And facts, they're the darnest things. When the facts are not in your favor, which are most of the time for the Democrats, it's just the damnedest thing, right? The facts are not in your favor. And I don't know if for our Facebook audience, and I apologize, I know we've missed a couple of calls, and if you want to call back, we'll make sure you get on 559-899-1550, 899-1550. But producer, if you can pull up the timeline. There's actual timeline now. There's a timeline, and I think it's Senator Richard Burr, North Carolina. Richard Burr, North Carolina, has put out an entire timeline of this because Joe Biden claims, well, you know what? They might have known it, but I didn't know it. I didn't know it. Well, the problem is and I honestly believe he's like a part-time president. And half of the day, I think, is he's not capable of lasting a full 8-hour shift as president of the United States, let alone anything beyond that. But here's a timeline. The timeline is evident that the Biden-Harris administration knew about the baby formula shortage for some time. This wasn't something that just came out of nowhere like COVID-19. They knew about it. But the reality is this, and it comes down to this main point. Biden and Harris were not ready for prime time. Biden and Harris were not ready to take charge of the executive branch of government. Joe Biden, and I hate to say this, and listen, I don't know how old the guy is. Was he like 78-ish, 79? I may not be able to do what I'm doing now I probably won't. I won't be able to be doing what I'm doing now at 79 years of age. I'm not knocking the guy, but I think we all have to realize that, you don't want to hand the football to someone that's not capable of running it downfield. Shoot, the Biden-Harris administration hasn't been able to get first downs. What do you do in that case? Well, you get someone else in. And that's the other thing I don't like about our electoral system, besides it being rigged. We're stuck with them. We're stuck with 4 years. We're stuck with these individuals for 4 years. They were not ready. They weren't ready on day one. They're still not ready. At some point in time, you get some on-the-job training, right? You show up somewhere, you're not ready, you get the job, you're like, all right, well, I'm not ready yet, but you start picking up steam. You start getting better at it. This administration is not better at it, and you want to know why Biden-Harris is not better? Look at that. Remember what they're Build Back Better. Remember that? I was like, they're not better at all. They're not building. They're not doing anything. They're so reactionary. And I thought to myself as I was driving over to the studio, do you think they actually thought they were going to win? You know how Hillary Clinton was taken by surprise? I think everybody was taken by surprise when Trump got elected in 2016. Could it be that they never actually thought they were going to be governing? There's two things that you need to realize. Number one, maybe the Biden-Harris administration never even thought they were going to be governing, number one. Number two, they knew they weren't going to be governing anyways because Joe Biden was going to have so many handlers, and Kamala Harris, the Biden team really doesn't like Kamala Harris anyway, so she's like, well, I'm not going to be doing anything anyways. You have two people in charge of the executive branch who possibly were not even, they weren't ready on day one. How do you mess it up this bad? I mean, you got crisis after crisis. And tonight, if you didn't know, tonight, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, is going to be, I have to say it still because I don't believe we're living in this nightmare. He's going to be addressing the nation on gun violence tonight. Primetime address. The producer, I just saw his eyes. I don't think I've ever seen anyone's eyes roll over in back of their head that much. It really is. Your eyes are just rolling over because he's using a primetime address. You know what he's doing, right? He's trying to shift the focus. You ever have a nephew? He's 2. And when we go to the store and stuff, I try to, I don't want him to see the toy aisle if I'm in a hurry. I'm like, dude, I don't want to take you to the toy aisle right now. So you kind of distract him. You're like, hey, look over here, look at that. And that's exactly what Joe Biden is doing. That's what the entire Democrat Party is doing. You realize that? And when they realized that they were not going to be making any type of advancements in the midterm, they started going back to the exact same issues. Abortion, right? Abortion. Now it's gun control. The Democrats have the exact same issues. And by the way, it's also in their favor that nothing ever gets addressed. You notice that? Every single candidate, every single election cycle mentions the same things. Biden-Harris administration is in the tanker. So is the dumps, not in the tanker. I can't mess up sayings on Alan Autry's show. I mean, his sayings are the best. But they've been messing it up so bad. That's why he's doing this primetime address tonight. He's got to rally the base. He's got to rally the troops. He's got to rally the troops because your average Democrat who's not a crazy progressive lefty is probably saying, oh, my gosh, like, why is this so bad? The troops need rallying. They need to hear the red meat or the blue meat. They need to hear the green meat because they're probably vegetarians. And I'm not making fun of vegetarians. I'm like the only conservative vegetarian But that's why Joe Biden is doing this primetime address tonight. He knows this is not going to go anywhere. He's doing this because he's got to rally up the base. And he's got to remind people that he is doing something. He's got to remind people that he's not just tanking like his poll numbers are actually tanking. But I encourage you to visit this timeline. It shows how quickly the White House knew about this. It's insane. And it goes back actually all the way to Inauguration Day. Now, because our station gives you the facts, because we don't lie to you, I do want to let you know that there was a nationwide out of stock rate of 8% when my bad. I apologize. I thought it was when he took office. Joe Biden took office on January 20th, 2021, right? January 20th, 2021 last year. There was an 8%. 4 months later, 6 months later, I can't do math. 6 months later, there was an 8% nationwide out of stock rate of infant formula. 8%. 6 months later, he takes office. Boom. And now we're dealing with what are we seeing? Like 26% out of stock rates right now. This is and it's simple stuff. We're not rebuilding infrastructure here. We're not trying to solve immigration, right? We're not trying to get any type of healthcare package. This is pretty fundamental. If you are in charge of the the executive branch of government in the United States, and your party is in charge of Congress, and you can't solve something as so elementary and so easy as food for babies, infant formula, like if you can't do that, what can you do? And I want to make a plea right now to the JFK Democrats, the blue dogs, the blue dog Democrats, the Democrats who don't like AOC, who think Bernie Sanders is equally as crazy as we think he is. To those Democrats that are listening, and I've been pretty critical of them. I've been pretty critical of the left and people that voted for Joe Biden. And I want to tell you this. You can't think for yourself. You know what's going on. You're seeing it. And I know you don't like it. Because I've talked to a lot of you JFK Dems, and you guys roll your eyes when I mention the woke progressive left, and when I even mention Joe Biden. You guys, your eyes roll. So I know you guys don't like what this guy is doing. You have your chance. And if you're in California, if you're a part of the list, the nationwide audience, I have no idea when the different primaries are all around the nation. But next Tuesday, you got some decisions to make in California. There's a lot of great Republican candidates on there. No, don't have this mentality of, Guillermo, you know what? It doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. I'm so tired of hearing that. Guillermo, it's not going to change things. You got to do it. And we had Michael Maher in here in the studio earlier, and he was saying, look, if you're so fed up with the electoral system, you don't want to vote, this is what you do. And I didn't think of this, and this is actually, it's genius. You don't want to vote? Get your mail-in ballot, which everyone has one. Thank you to the Democrats, and it's fundamentally changing the way we do elections. But put your empty ballot in there and send it in empty. Just sign it. Sign the outer envelope so they know it's you, and send it in. Because if they have your ballot, no one can cheat for you. No one can go and claim they are you. No one can print out an extra ballot with your barcode and send it in. If you're that fed up with elections, or if you don't think your vote matters, well, at least just submit an empty ballot, sign your name, so at least no one can cheat. It's that easy. It's that simple. I want everyone to harness all of their disappointment, all of their, the shock that the Biden-Harris administration has put us in. I want you to harness all of that energy. It's one day a year. One day every 2 years. One day every 2 years. You know, this is like the Democrats. Like, this is their finals. This is their Super Bowl. Democrats, when election time comes, they go into a different mode. And that is, we got to make sure we get enough. We got to make sure we get enough ballots here. We got to make sure we get enough ballots here. We got to make sure we get this. The Democrats have this down to a T. It's only us. It's only the conservatives that were never organized enough to get this done. You know why, right? Because we all have jobs. We're all working, and so we're not all paid organizers who are out there talking about the crazy woke left. But it's true. It's reality. The reason why we're not submitting our ballots is because we have freaking jobs. Like, that's a little too rough, right? Nah, whatever. Maybe we need to take a commercial break. We come back on the Alan Autry show here. Polar bears. Woo! Now I hope I feel good this time next week after the election, after the midterms. Polar bears, it's the primary for the midterm. Polar bears and grizzlies are mating. You know that? Polar bears and grizzlies are going to create giant hybrids, and climate change is to blame. Oh, as Greta Thunberg said, how dare you? You're creating polar bear grizzlies. I'll tell you about that when we come back here on the Alan Autry Show. Guillermo Moreno filling in, 899-1550, 899-1550.
So nice, I got you.
You know, I totally forgot to thank everyone. I know Alan talks to you guys during the breaks, but we had a candidate in. It gets kind of busy towards election time with the show and the formatting. But I appreciate you all listening in. I know it's not Alan. Alan will be back mañana. He'll be back tomorrow for Free for All Friday, and I will I'll be in here. It's easier to be on that seat because I get to just spout off in any direction that I want. When you're actually running the show, it's like, all right, we gotta get formula. Got to get a formula down. You got to make sure it's structured, but I do appreciate everybody. But we come back. I'll tell you about the grizzly bear story, and I don't even know where else to go. There's just so much going on. Insane.
Best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Guillermo Moreno filling in for the Alan Autry. He'll be back tomorrow for Free for All Friday. And it will be a free for all as he and I will break down. I don't think we have Bob the Bullet next next time around. We'll miss him. But we'll be here doing Free for All Friday with Alan Autry. All right, I teased this before going to break. Polar bears and grizzlies are mating to create giant hybrids. Polar bears and grizzlies, and humans are to blame. Ah, damn you humans! You climate change. You know what you start doing? You need to stop eating meat. You need to stop driving cars. You need to stop breathing. All right, because you are causing climate change. The hotters are getting hotters and the colders are getting colders, and the mild times are getting more milder, and it's the stupidest thing. Like, it's anyhow, and when you're in Michigan, I'm not gonna when you're in Michigan and it's December, trust me, you want climate to change. You want it to change real quick. Polar bears and grizzlies, what do you call a hybrid created when a grizzly bear and a polar bear mate? The answer might soon be common knowledge, as climate change has pushed these two species of bears together. As a result, interbreeding has become more common between the two, a stark reminder of how climate change affects animals too. The first reported Pizzly is what they're calling it. That's what they're calling it. It's a polar bear and a grizzly is a Pizzly. The first Pizzly bear was spotted in 2006. At the time, the bear was heralded as a rare occurrence. Scientists at the time said that the only thing that made it special was that they existed. However, these rare hybrid Pizzlies have started to become more widespread. The resulting Pizzly bears, or grizzly polar bears, take traits from both species. The hybrid is a short-furred bear that is more adept at handling hot temperatures than the grizzly. See? Everything kind of just evens out. Did I say that too soon? And I get it. I feel bad for the turtle with the straw in their nose. I feel bad for the really skinny polar bear. I'm not going to say I don't, but that is kind of where things are headed. Listen, throughout the Earth's life, this kind of happens. Animals adapt. Things adapt. You know what doesn't adapt? The left. They don't adapt at all to common sense. They don't adapt to anything. Apparently, the Biden-Harris administration just aren't adaptable to facts or anything like that. So anyhow, oh man, running out of time already. Where does the time go? Well, I need an outro song just like Alan. Well, as Alan would say, and I try not to screw this up because he'll be really mad. Do your best and let who do the rest? God. Let God do the rest. I'll be on at 4 p.m. Don't miss my show. Alan Autry will be back mañana. You're listening to the best talk in town, Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Top of the hour news coming right up.